Hey there, parents. Welcome to week one of Growing with our Parents Connection class. I'm glad you're here. Glad you're interested in taking time to learn more about becoming a parent. And you have the opportunity, if you'd like, to get a copy of this book, Growing With, that we're going to go through, but not necessary. I know you guys have busy lives, different things going on, and so you can just come here each week and we'll discuss questions. We'll discuss some parts from the book. I'll kind of walk us through a couple things. There's more things in each chapter than I unfortunately have time to cover, but we'll give you guys some highlights, give you some things that I think stand out to me, and then hopefully allow for you guys to have some good discussion in the short time that we have each morning here in this Youth Connections, or Parent Connections class. To get things started with chapter 1, I want to actually go to the end of the chapter, and on page 45, it says this. It says, "Our hope-filled prayer is that this book helps you avoid the outright lie that it's too late to adjust your parenting, that the ship has sailed, that you've missed the boat." I don't know how you feel about your parenting at this stage in your life. As many of you guys know, I have a now 11-year-old as of a couple days ago, and also a 8-year-old in 3rd and 5th grade. And this summer we were on vacation, and we were driving down the highway in our van, and I didn't have my feet on the gas pedal because I was using cruise control. And Caleb happened to be sitting in the front seat, and he asked me, he goes, "Dad, how come you don't have your feet on the pedal? You're not driving." And I go, "I have cruise control on." And so then he goes, "Oh, so it's like a computer, you just don't have to do anything." And I go, "Well, no, I still have to steer the car." And when I think about our children that have come from this baby infancy, even early grade school stage, when we have to do a lot of things for them, whether that's changing diapers, giving them meals, cutting up their food into bite-sized pieces, helping them with homework. A lot of stuff is done for them. And now we're really transitioning to this stage of preteen, teenagers, maybe even looking towards college, where we're trying to help them become more independent. But I think part of it starts with us as parents to say, are we the experts? Do we know everything? At the same time, though, are we willing to make adjustments? Because I think sometimes we have the cruise control on, but and for whatever reason, maybe we've tried some things, maybe they haven't worked, whatever, but we don't want to put our hands on the wheel and kind of steer things. And I'm here to say, I think parenting is a dynamic thing opposed to static. And so it's constantly going to be changing. I want to encourage you to be willing and open to try to do different things, try new ways, but also continue to love and support your children. As the chapter got going, it really started talking about millennials and Generation I or iGen or Generation Y. There's a lot of different terms out there, but I just want to clarify that when we talk about millennials, especially and kids even nowadays that are maybe that Generation Y, that iGen, is that they've grown up with technology, as in the internet. I was born in 1981. And so I'm one of those who, right on the cusp, the internet didn't really come around till the early mid 90s. I remember sitting there at home when my mom got Prodigy for the first time. And so these students have a different perspective. And so much has changed even in the last 100 years of the way families work and operate that I think have really created a gap and a challenge between childhood, and then now adulthood. I mean, just keep in mind, 100 years ago, the term adolescent, teenager, those things didn't exist. You grew up in the family, you had that house, and you kind of did the family trade. But now you look at Industrial Revolution, you look at divorce, you look at technology, you look at schooling, you look at higher education. All these things that have really evolved over the years has really, I think, made parenting a challenge as we look to take kids from high dependence to making them independent adults. Another thing I want to point out from the book was on page 23. They give a definition, the authors, for this Growing With. What is this book about? What are they trying to accomplish? What does growing with even mean? And they say this. They said, "We defined growing with parenting as a mutual journey of intentional growth for both ourselves and our children that trusts God to transform us all." And so it's that thought that we're all being formed each day and transformed into the likeness of Christ. We look at the atonement, the death, resurrection, forgiveness of our sins that Jesus did on the cross. that allows us all to live under grace and mercy, knowing that we're all sinful. From there, I think it's that journey of continuing to walk with our children. Once you're a parent, it's never really done. And some of you, in my case, I just thought about empty nest. Elise, gosh, we're like 9 years away from being empty nest, and man, that's going quickly. And so even though empty nest might be a few years down the road, we still have a role that we will play as parents for the rest of our lives. But how do we journey with our children is really the thought of with this book, Growing With. Next thing I have here is 36. It really talks and outlines these thoughts and importance of faith, family, and the world and these dynamics. And they kind of do it with some different words that your spell check won't like. But the first one is withing. And this thought of how do we journey together with our students, our children, through life, and journey together with them and help them as they do things and participate, not always taking control and doing things for them. They talk about faithing. How do we help them go from maybe just having like the faith that we think they should have, or being part of the church and the events and the programs, or we think they should read the Bible or pray, but how do we help evolve and transform to a point where it's a faith that they're owning and doing really on their own, if you will, at times, that it's not something that we just force and instruct. And then finally, the fun term, adulting. How do we get them to experience, learn how to make critical decisions, handle abstract thoughts? And I met a guy the other day that talked about he really felt like an adult because he had to purchase a lawnmower for the first time, had no idea what he was doing, didn't know which one to buy, how much should he spend, those types of things. And so how do we help them tackle those kinds of things that we do all the time as adults? I've got some questions for you to discuss this morning. And I'll have these each week. But something that I want to leave you guys off with is this spectrum here. And it's actually not even in the book, but I think it's something that's important for us to maybe think about as we start this first chapter. Is we have these children born, and they're very dependent on us for their survival. And then we really want them to grow to be these independent adults, unless you're wanting your children to live with you in your house the rest of your life, which I don't think you are. We need to help them become independent. And so I'm just curious, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you say? Would you say your child is highly a 10 independent? I assume if you're in this class and knowing a lot of you guys and the families, probably not a 10. But I'd assume you're not a 0 either. You're not changing your kids' diapers anymore, hopefully in 6th grade or whatever. But what stage would you say your child is when it comes to independent to dependent? And I know it's a very subjective, depends on the situation, but just come up with a number, and maybe that's something you guys could start off by talking about in your group this morning. And so, got some other discussion questions for you to look at. I also want to challenge you. Who's another parent that needs the love, the support, the prayer that this group affords? Really want to encourage you to do that, and then also challenge you if you want to read along from the book. I really believe you'll be blessed. I don't want this to be like another extra burden to your life, but maybe it's something that you and your spouse could go through and enjoy. So thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye.